Hello? I can't hear you. I can't hear you for some reason.
I'm going to test it. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
How
Now,
about that? That better?
there, I gotcha.
Yay! I can't see you. Are
Now
you
I
just
know I don't have a camera.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good. How have you
Yes.
been?
I've been fine. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah. I figured I'd try to get on early. That way I'll have it all set up and I can hear everybody.
Right. No, good idea. Good idea. Hopefully, I only had 4 people respond, so I hope
Oh
we have
no,
4 people. Yeah.
that's not gonna make that's not good.
No, I got an email from Helen. She had a family emergency she had to take care of, so she's not going to be able to be on.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So well, let's hope we get enough.
Let's see.
Hmm. I like your hair.
Thank you. I just got it done.
It looks great.
Thank you. It's supposed to be like a pink, gold, rust color type. I don't know. Like, pick a color and put it in.
Yeah, just wait until you get my age and you got white on white.
Well, I told her, I said, pretty soon I'm going to have to just get that platinum color put in there because I'm getting a lot of those.
My daughter, she'll be 50 this year, and she's let her hair go natural.
Oh,
And so she's starting to get the gray streaks in there, and it really looks good.
see, that's supposed to be the new trend. People pay a lot of money to get that silver look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cheaper her way.
Yeah. Well, yes, it is. I can't believe how much it costs. Yeah, I'm in the wrong profession, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you don't, I hope you don't have to work as hard as they do.
No, I don't want to work that hard. My arms would hurt. I was just commenting to her and said, I don't know how your arms don't hurt every day. My hands would hurt, my arms.
Their legs from standing.
Standing. Yeah, no, I couldn't do that either.
No. Bad.
Yeah.
I was watching the news. Bad news.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just looking that up. I didn't hear about it because I was at the salon and one of my girlfriends are like, did you just see? I'm all no. So I was Googling it to see. I'm like, oh, lovely.
It was bad. It is bad.
It's just, oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what we're going to do. There's not a whole lot we can do. Just suck it up.
We've been through a lot of presidents, so come on.
Yeah.
We're going to make it. We'll make it.
It might be a really long 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we'll be all right.
The only thing that I have a problem with is how embarrassing is this to know the other countries are watching us.
Right. And that we're acting like the third world countries throwing temper tantrums. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's now they show that we're vulnerable and they're going to start taking advantage.
I hope not. In my lifetime, my children, my grandchildren, their children,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
good. Hey, did Gloria, is she coming? O'Keefe?
Let me see if she sent one on here. I have not heard from her, no. I only have Janelle, Dana, and you and Paul Brown. I do have a voice message from Randy though.
Where's our leader?
I'm sure he'll come on. Oh, I got another participant. Let's see who it is. Oh, it's Phyllis raised her hand.
Oh, good.
So I will make her promote her to a panelist. We should see her in a second.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about her husband.
Hi. You're muted.
Yeah, what picture she got on there? When she's 16?
Doesn't she? I just asked her to unmute herself.
Oh.
Are you there?
Yeah, I see. She's got it muted.
Mm-hmm. Can you see me?
No, I just see your picture, just a blank picture.
Well, that's
good.
There you.
There's your beautiful face.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
you can't hear me.
Oh, I can now.
I said, I like your hair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
you got it done.
You snuck away from the city hall to get
Yes,
your
I
hair
did.
done.
Yes, I did.
But I'm gonna put that down. Just be sure she gets
You
done.
do that. Would you like me to send you an email?
Yeah. For sure. I don't see Darlene.
No, she don't have a picture on there.
Oh.
I don't have a camera, Phyllis.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
what's the matter with Ron? Can't he let you have one?
You know, I don't have one. If I'm going to do FaceTime, it has to be with my mask on.
Oh.
It doesn't show my wrinkles so much.
Oh, you're silly. Silly.
No, I just don't have a camera. If I do FaceTime, it's on the phone with the kids.
Gotcha.
But I can hear everything.
Okay. Is Ron doing okay?
Yes, he is. He's got to go back in on the 20th. They're going to take more cancer out. But he's doing great. Honestly, for what it is, he gets tired fast and, that sort of thing. So I'm sorry to hear about your husband.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. Ron told me.
Yeah, happened very fast.
It's always the best way, isn't it?
I guess.
Oh, Phyllis, it's lonely, huh?
Yep.
Okay, well, you'll make it, kid.
Yeah, I got to stay busy, that's all.
Well, that's important.
Yeah. I've been glued to the TV this afternoon.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just
bad.
Awful.
Yeah, I was telling her that I really feel bad for the United States because the other countries are watching this.
It's just embarrassing.
Embarrassing. You're correct.
Yep. Is Corey on? I see his picture.
Yeah, he's got a good picture on there too.
I asked him to unmute.
Yeah,
there we go.
I'm in transit, so I'm just kind of listening. I'm trying to get some stuff working.
And I know Richard's going to be here. Luke is trying to get here, I see. Just
looks like he's walking away.
Looks like he's leaving dog days.
Yes.
There he is. There he is. Yeah, he's at dog days. Oh boy. Hey, Luke.
How's everybody?
Good.
And how are you?
Not bad, not bad. Good to see everybody back.
Are you Did you drop your mask or is that a permanent?
It's winter time, so I'm growing out a little bit of facial hair.
Okay.
Getting the mustache ready if I decide I'm gonna do Andy Reid again this playoffs.
Oh, Gloria's there.
Hi, Gloria. We can't hear her. Hopefully she can hear us.
And she's got it on, it looks like.
Gloria?
I know Paula's going to join us
There she is.
with her dog.
I got my buddy.
Yay, he's cute. Oh,
I guess I got the speaker phones. I guess I
Rebecca. Hey, I can't hear you.
Bet you can now.
Yes, I can.
hi.
Hello. Hi, I made it.
Yay.
How you
so
doing?
happy.
I'm good. How are you, sweetheart?
Okay.
Doing
How's your
good.
new job?
New job is really good.
Good.
Really
Good.
love it.
Good.
Yeah. Yep. So I just literally landed at my house at like 10 minutes ago. Got in, fed the dog. I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. Looks like we're at dog days too. How fun is that?
I know. I know.
Oh, I want to hold my dog too.
Hi, Richard. Oh, there he is.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
No.
I did talk to Paula and she planned on joining us.
We're at 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. 5, counting me.
And the puppy dog.
Oh
Hi,
yeah,
everyone.
I don't know if that counts towards
Hi,
4.
Richard.
We have 4.
Corey's on his way.
Diana
There's-
Dorpower was going to join.
Yeah, Corey's on. He's muted, I think.
There's 5. I know
Yes,
that
Corey is here.
Helen will not be here.
Who?
Helen,
Growth.
Oh. I see Janelle.
Yep,
Yeah, I talked to her yesterday, so I knew she'd be here.
I'm here.
Hi, lady.
I'm not seeing my picture anywhere, but
Go down to your video thing and click on it. It may be blocked out.
it is.
There you go.
Thank you.
I don't know who Galaxy S8 is.
Someone that just joined from a phone, apparently.
Hmm.
might be on mute, but I can't tell.
What's that?
That was the audio from Galaxy S8.
Oh,
When the square is highlighted that means that it's your audio that's speaking.
right.
Mhm.
I knew that, but that funny noise.
It was coming from that
Oh,
connection. So is the bar open there, Luke?
No, I was doing some work. This,
Good for you.
yeah, this is where I generally I bought a laptop so I could take my work home with me, but I always just leave it here. So
Good idea.
So if I'm counting right, we have 5, we need 2 more.
Hope you have 8.
8.
Unless, I don't know who Galaxy S8 is.
Okay.
That's you.
How do I say that?
You say it.
That's me,
What is your
Denise
name?
Skillstrap.
Oh, Denise Skillstrap? Okay.
Okay. So Chris and Denise are both here. Okay.
10-4.
10-4.
All right, so I guess we can get started if we're at quorum then, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance then. Allegiance to the
To the
flag
The
flag
flag
of
of
the
the
United
United
States
States of America,
and
to
to the
the
republic
republic
for which
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands, one nation,
Under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
with liberty and
and
justice
justice
for
for all. Ah,
All right. Well, I guess I'd like to thank everybody for their time this evening. Had a conversation with Alderman Ross a little bit before this to kind of, I guess we need to do a roll call, huh? Is that you, Jana?
Yeah. Let's see. So I have Gloria, Rebecca, Mel, Arlene, Corey, Chris, and Denise.
here.
Here.
All
Here.
right. You're good to go.
All right. Very good. So, next order of business, you should have received in your email in the past the minutes last week. Our meeting highlighted by our visit from Tim Jacobson. Opportunity to review those. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting on December 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Motion, and then that was Chris that seconded. All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I need Corey and Denise and Nancy to unmute their, so I can hear them.
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Okay, Nancy?
The association has $34,000 in reserve, so if the issue pops up, they can pay for
Nancy,
that.
can you unmute you so that we can hear your vote on this, on the minutes? I'll just make her absent, 'cause I can't hear her. Okay.
But seems like the motion carried there, of course. All right, so moving on to the agenda here. Who's that? First one, the events committee discussion progress. Obviously, you know, we've discussed that in this committee a lot. We haven't really done much outside of this committee. Now that's something that Corey and I had a discussion with in a message after last week's meeting about other opportunities to get together. What is our, and maybe the alderman or somebody else can, what is it like as far as us discussing ideas outside of these meetings in another forum, whether it's like a message group or an email chain or things like that? Like what are we allowed to do and not allowed to do as far as like sunshine kind of stuff goes? And maybe Corey has a second kind of chime in and kind of.
Well, I kind of got to thinking about that. I'm glad you brought up the discussion we had. I think it's something we could certainly talk about, but I do think one of the things we need to do as a committee is to maybe box in some of these ideas, because it always seems to focus around the funding and the money and all that other kind of stuff. But then we're also told, hey, you need to reach big and look big and have big ideas. But of course, big ideas cost a lot of money. So then everyone says, well, you got to start small. So now we start looking small, and small usually turns into event discussions and things like that. So perhaps we should probably look at.
Lost in there.
Yeah, down here.
I'm sorry, I'm back. Perhaps we need to think about some big, medium, and small ideas like that, and then put our ideas in those buckets. If that's kind of what you're referring to.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, and we, and just being able to do more of the brainstorming outside of this. And I think, we had discussed a couple meetings ago to get together some smaller committees to dive into some of those things. And then we kind of switched to Zoom, and then the holidays came and we kind of got away from that. But I think this kind of leads into the next point and their number B on the discussion items with Alderman Ross. And I'll kind of let him lead that part of the discussion, because we had a discussion about kind of clarifying what the committee is all about and like kind of what a goal is and kind of where we want to get to between now and whatever, and what service we can be to the Board of Aldermen. And I know, and Alderman Ross can talk a little bit more about the timeline there, about when they do some of the strategic planning and when it might be an ideal time for us to maybe kind of, as Corey said, kind of put all this stuff together. And I'll get into a list. I kind of have notated, and we can amend this list here in a second, of like various general topics that have come up a number of times and things that we're kind of working on. So maybe we can kind of get those kind of lined out. And again, at this point, we've only really voted on one recommendation. But in the next few meetings, hopefully we can kind of maybe focus on a few of these particular issues, kind of hash it out a little bit, and then pass a full recommendation, a full package of recommendation over to the board. So here I said I was going to let Alderman Ross kind of explain it, but I kind of took over. But if you want to kind of clarify that, Richard.
The more you take over is okay with me. But before we go into that, if you don't mind for a second, I want to take a step back.
Okay.
Because I think the question about the sunshine law is out there, and I'm not certain myself because I'm not an expert on that. And Tara, if we need to get Ed involved in it, or a note out to someone. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, good. As for example, a subcommittee of this committee, I don't think is a quote public meeting that has to be notified like this one does, because I think this one we've taken the approach that this is a sunshineable meeting, for lack of a better term, and we need to have 24-hour notice. But I'm not even sure that we're required to do that. But I think the question is what can they do with that? What are some of the parameters here? And I don't know if you know, and if we need to get Ed involved. I'm curious.
If 8 of you meet, then it needs to be posted as 24 hours. That's a sunshine. If
Okay.
4 or 5 of you meet, that's not, you can meet and do that in small subcommittees. That's not a big deal. But if 8 of you get together and make decisions, then it needs to be posted.
Now, what about digital format? Say we had like, whether it was a message group or like a shared document online that we had access to or something like that. We were working on to work on brainstorming or things like that. And I'm not necessarily saying I want to do any of those specific things, but is that something that can be done?
Yeah. Anytime there's a quorum of the group doing any kind of discussion that relates to these tasks, then it needs to be noticed and it's sunshineable and minutes need to be taken.
Right, and if you do any correspondence back and forth between any of you, you need to make sure that I get a copy of it. Because if somebody does want to see a subcommittee, whatever you guys have been talking about, then they can get that.
Okay.
But if it's drafts, but anything that you vote on has to be done in an open meeting.
Right. If an action's taken, a discussion can be had
Right,
on email where the entire distribution list, if you will, of the committee could be copied. But if there's an action taken, that's how I had to learn about the email too. If an action is being taken, then that's through an actual notice meeting, as Corey talked about in Sunshineable.
Yeah.
You can just
And
have a
it's always-
discussion anytime you want.
It's always a good idea if you're drafting an email for the group. Well, it might be required actually that you always send it to, the person that's going to take the minutes, or or the administrator or whatever. Always carbon copy it, and that way there's always a record of it outside of just your personal email, because unfortunately a lot of us don't have city email, so we're going to be using our personal email. So you want to make sure you carbon copy that email to someone that's inside the city, so that if there was ever an issue and they sunshine it, they don't have to go through your personal device.
And that's person in this case for this committee is Tara.
yes.
Okay. Any questions on that before we move on?
No, yeah, and thank you. I did want to clarify that because, like I said, came up in a Corey and I's discussion. We kind of started talking about trying to come up with some more creative ways to, get stuff done. But at the same time, he was the one who kind of, sure, whatever we're allowed to do, and I think that's kind of clarified there.
Okay.
Yeah, every one of us can sit here and sit down at the bar and have a talk
Sure.
and talk about the topics at hand. It's when we start to get into a group of a quorum that it becomes a problem. So if it's just me and you and we're sitting down and we're talking about some things, that's not a big deal. We can share ideas over chat, Skype, whatever you want to do. But when we start to get a group where we get 7, 8, 9 people together, then that becomes a quorum and that becomes a problem.
Cool. So I think we're obviously we're in compliance at this point, but like I said, I just wanted to make sure we got that kind of clarified before we did anything more, but I think that will, so I think, as far as smaller committees regarding events or any of these things we come up with, we can still do that outside of this group. So I think that kind of dovetails into end results and timelines, and well, I want to kind of, I don't know if now would be the right time, probably. I'm going to go over a list of just what I've kind of highlighted of topics that have come up that have at least, we've had a couple discussions of. I know there's been a couple of just random ideas here and stuff like that, but I'm just, for my own personal, I'm putting together this list so we can make kind of stay focused on it. I think, going down the line, we can, maybe put these in and have like a specific meeting dedicated to a topic, do the full discussion, see where we stand with our recommendation. But if you'll allow me here, let me kind of go down this list, and then I'll kind of open it up to see if there's anything that I missed on my list of like big topics that we've discussed here. So obviously the economic development position within the city is something that, as this committee, we wanted to at least explore. We voted on that one. Obviously the events, the idea of an event, whether that's a veterans event or an art walk. After our trip to the airport, the idea of some airport improvements, whether that's hangars, other municipalities' involvement, something with the airport there is kind of a big topic that, I think we need to at some point kind of address more fully as a committee. The idea of an entertainment district or other special taxing districts have come up. So that's kind of one topic. And then just the general promotion of the city and city events, whether that's Parks and Rec or various things that are going on there. Just the idea of various promotional tools and things at our disposal that we should be using. And then of course, short-term rentals and how to perhaps license or find some revenue out of that. I think it's a topic that, I think going to continue to grow there. So at that point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Those are the 7 like big topics that I feel like have come up in these meetings so far, and the way this committee kind of came together, we all came together, had a couple meetings, and then we went to Zoom. So it's kind of a start and stop thing. And I think we're starting to kind of maybe get our momentum back here a little bit. But I think if we kind of clarify what we're looking at, and I think those 7 topics now, and like I said, I'll open up. Did I miss anything that kind of came up? I kind of parsed through the minutes and try to find some themes that came up. But did I miss any big topics there that we've discussed? Whether we obviously not made any decisions on those at all. Anybody?
I think around the airport, the primary discussion around that, and I know it's been tried in the past, but I saw it in the paper just the other day, an op-ed about scheduled service at the airport, and it's been, I've got family members, hey, if y'all had an airport down there, I'd come down and see you more often, that kind of thing. So that, and it was even mentioned during the Citizens Academy, where we went up to that, the State Park Airport. And, he discussed, hey, we're just this close to having scheduled service here. So it's on the tip of everyone's mind. I don't know how feasible it is, but that was I think that was the focus of that particular discussion about the airport, not necessarily hangars or anything like that, but scheduled service, in that you got American Airlines landing and picking people up.
Right. Yeah. And I just Corey, put the hangars and all of it kind of all under one airport thing. Cause that was, when we talked to Ty out there, one of the things he said was that there was a desire for more hangars, and he thought that there would be a need there and things like that. And again, anything we do in this committee, I think, obviously is just forged as a recommendation. So something in regards to airport, whether it was, full, commercial service or this or that, our recommendation would be say, hey, we think the city should at least pursue this in one way or the other. And how what the city does at that point is kind of up to them, really. But,
yeah, I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I was looking at it more from, the conversation at hand is what is going to benefit Osage Beach as a city, right? What is going to increase tourism? I don't think a couple hangars is going to do it. I mean, it might help a couple people, right? But if you had American Airlines landing there and picking people up and dropping them off, that's a big deal. So that's kind of why I focused on that.
No, and I get you. It was like I said, I had it in my list of the things that had come up at that point. Because like I said, Ty, when we were out there, Ty had mentioned that, and and again, you do make some.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I get the picture. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hate to occupy the majority of the discussion, but I don't know if you wanted to mention what we talked about via messenger or not. I think that might be something to discuss, perhaps during this meeting or maybe a later time.
Which part? I'm not. There was a couple different layers to that conversation.
There probably was. My primary thing, and what he keeps talking about that we discussed over messenger, is I was sitting down and I was thinking about the fact that we are one of the most premier water-oriented cities and areas pretty much anywhere. I grew up on the West Coast boating on the Columbia, and I spent 10, 12 years on the East Coast boating on the Potomac and the Atlantic and all that. And it's one thing that anything that where you have a city or a community or whatever associated with water, there always seems to be a major theme that attracts people or reminds people, where if someone mentions Miami, you have a vision that goes in your head. If someone mentions Myrtle Beach, you have a vision that goes in your head. If someone mentions the Eastern Shore, you have a vision in your head. Or if someone mentions Seaside on the Pacific Coast, you probably have a vision in your head. And almost every one of those visions has a boardwalk. And so from a bigger vision, I was kind of wondering, kind of curious, because I went shopping around for boat slips at the beginning of the year. So I was looking at all different marinas around, and I was shocked to find that the majority of marinas on the, I guess how you gonna say this south side of Osage Beach are all closing. So Bridgeport is closing. The name escapes me, but the cruise ship moved. Then you have that massive complex down there in the same vein, they're closing. I don't know. Again, we're talking big picture. We're talking lots of money, probably. I don't know what it is about the feasibility. I know there was a community in 2013. I think there was a harbor something, Osage Beach Harbor Town or something that they were going to build in there. Big giant boardwalk and all that. I don't know what happened to that. I can send you all a link to the news article that discussed it, but I think it was going to go in next to Dog Days, as a matter of fact. But I don't know what happened to that, or where the discussion went, or why the plans fell through. But it would seem to me, with these marinas closing and these properties now, I would assume up for sale or whatever, that there could be an opportunity for city to step in and find themselves a foothold to the waterfront and build off of that. Keeping in mind that on that side of the Grand Glaze, you're right next to the state park as well. So some of that stuff could tie together, I would imagine. I don't know. I'm just thinking big, kind of out of the box, but that's what the discussion was about. Sorry for taking so much time.
No, it's quite all right. And yeah, and I, you know, I was going to dig in. Does anybody with more, you know, Phyllis might remember that Harbor Town development that was going to go there on Jeffries Road. Do you remember what happened with that, or?
I do not remember that, but I do remember about having airline service here, and it did not go well because the cost was just unbelievable. People said, well, jeepers, I could drive to St. Louis and pay for long-term parking a lot cheaper than I can to fly an airplane and then have to rent a car. I'm certainly not negative about it, but I just know it's been tried by airlines and it just was not lucrative. It's just not cost effective, that's all. At least it hasn't been. Ty seemed to think maybe there'd be a little bit more volume of people using it, but that's not the point. The point is what they're charging, you know? So anyway, that was the one thing, but I don't remember Harbor Town. I don't remember that.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to go in near Brooks' property, I think.
Yeah.
Calfran.
Yeah.
Calfran.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Rebecca, do you have any more insight on that? You kind of were nodding your head there. Do you remember?
I shared a link.
Oh, okay. I recall when that occurred, and then it's just like a lot of things that we see, unfortunately, you know, great ideas, they put them out there and it just for some reason doesn't follow through. I think I don't know if it was a TIF situation or some sort of taxing districting for, you know, hold up, but I definitely remember, and it wasn't too many years ago, but I also know that the airport discussions have been going on for over 20 years. And I recall, it was before my time at Tri-County Lodging that Tri-County Lodging put in money. The business districts put in funds to the city for the airport. And I think it was like, I won't even say maybe $120,000 for a year or something like that. But, you know, it just never seemed to take off. Pardon the pun, but sorry. But yeah, it's definitely an ongoing discussion. But I don't want to sound like, you know, that, well, just because it didn't take off once, it wouldn't take off again.
Exactly.
Just there's history. And I think it'd be awesome if new ideas could come through or new funding or something like that, that would be what would bring it to our area.
So like I said, so were there any other, I got Corey's on there too, to add to kind of my list. Like I said, I'm just kind of, this is mostly for my own benefit here, just to kind of keep my own focus on what we haven't talked about, and what, like, kind of, I'm trying to pull some themes out of, you know, what our discussions are, because sometimes, you know, we come out of these meetings and we feel like we've kind of talked in circles and really haven't accomplished anything. But if you look back over the course of the minutes of our meetings, we have, you know, some ideas have come up, some themes have come up. And I think, as Alderman Ross and I discussed, now it's the time to kind of focus and kind of get, you know, kind of provide our input to the city, so that way when they do their strategic planning, and how does the timeline on that one work there, Richard?
As far as the timeline, sorry, I was flipping around. As far as because I was looking back at the agenda, and there are some themes on the agenda that around taxing, whether that would tie into, you know, SIDS or community improvement districts and so forth, annexation. Those are down at the bottom of the agenda, but just to help you for some other, if there's anything that you're trying to keep an all-inclusive list. As far as timelines, there is no real timeline to this committee. Every year for the last 3 years, I think, Phyllis, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have began meeting as a board. It's a public meeting, usually in late July, early August. And sorry, that every time I talk, I get feedback. So I'll try.
Yeah, I don't know where that's, I get it too.
Terrible.
Somebody had, oh, I think it just went away. Perfect. Sorry, you had to mute. But anyway, the board meets and does strategic planning. We're still trying to figure out how to do strategic planning well, but we're getting better every year, I think. And kind of start talking about the future, the next year and any potential future years. And so, not that we're trying to put any kind of timelines on this, but it would be very helpful to the board, I think, if there was at least some partial progress, update, recommendations, whatever. Maybe all the work won't be done. But if we could kind of, sometimes you got to kind of look at what you're trying to accomplish in the end to figure out how to get, keep moving along on a path. At the very least, some feedback around some of these subjects and topics before our strategic planning. And it could be partial recommendations. It could be, hey, here's all our recommendations and we're done. And then kind of, I don't know if it's flip side, but to tag on to that, how deep do you want to go on these subjects? Luke and I talked about it. We may take this list and go to Gina, for example, and say, okay, what resources are there at the city to help, for lack of a better term, educate this group so that they can have more knowledgeable discussions about particular topics, whether it's, annexation or SIDS, community improvement districts, or whatever, and entertainment districts that Corey brought up. Because I think sometimes it's good to have maybe, a subject matter expert provide you guys the ability to not only the information, but any questions that you might have so that you guys can, so that the committee can work more productively, I guess is the best way to put it.
Gina was asked to be at today's meeting, but she had another commitment.
Correct.
But she said that she does plan to do the next meeting, to make some kind of presentation on behalf of Lower Deck. Going back to the strategic planning, I pulled out from this last year, and under economic growth that we really touched on of what we'd like to set goals on. One was focusing on business retention, knowing our business community, fill empty buildings with incentives, need to determine specific direct to determine capacity, need partnerships to position the city to attract businesses and jobs. I know Buxton, we did not sign up again with Buxton, and we feel that that they were beneficial for what they did. I've also talked with Gina again. They're making a little, what do you call it? Some type of a brochure and whatever. They've got a list that Buxton gave them on various categories of businesses that they recommended to come to Osage Beach. But the main thing is to find the real estate or have property available to be likened to them besides Osage Beach Commons. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. And obviously you have businesses, but then that correlates with housing for the service people, for employees. And we certainly need that as well.
I could certainly attest to that. Workforce housing for me, and obviously we're seasonal business here, but it's a constant battle for us for sure.
But who would be in charge of something like that, getting that information?
Which information? There was a lot here.
Well, no, I'm talking about, say, an airline coming in. Who would go to these people? Different businesses. Who would go to these people? Who does that? Who can do that?
The development director.
Yeah, I think
Who is that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Richard. You were going to say.
I was just going to say, I think that's an awesome question. That's the problem. Who's on first, right?
Right.
Lower Deck in there as a volunteer organization that's not been, quote, sanctioned, if you will, for lack of a better term, by any public entity. And Janelle, if you want to chime in, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just
Okay.
want.
That's fine. But you know, there's no one on first at the end of the day. I mean, there's people that are, it's all been piecemealed. Everybody, you know, whether the TCLA's try to do some things, the citizens, now I'm getting confused, but but the organization Tim worked for, help me out, Rebecca.
Convention Visitors Bureau.
Thank you. Convention Visitors Bureau. I mean, it's all kind of been piecemealed, and I'll be quite honest with you that from my personal perspective, that's one of the challenges here. There's everything is so there's so many resources, but everything's so fragmented. There's no one leading the charge either regionally or even within our city, to be quite honest. Sometimes it's always went back to the mayor, to be quite honest. And, you know, there's only so much the mayor can do, run a city and still try to promote the area and so forth. And so I think Corey's point's very well taken, that maybe that's why we voted the way we did last meeting. But that's, you know, great question. I don't know that anybody's on first.
Well, it's certainly why I recommended that as the first thing going, because exactly that. I mean, we're all sitting here kicking around ideas, you know, let's have an arts festival, let's do this, let's do that. But there's got to be someone at the city with some authority who can go out and, you know, maybe they do grants, maybe they look at some funding that can that put something in that, you know, from at the federal level. You know, as an example, I mentioned before where the city of Smithville, we got a piece of the New York towers that fell, and we made a 9/11 memorial. Well, I mean, who was doing that? I mean, we're not going to be looking for that kind of stuff. We wouldn't even know to look for something like that, but a development director might. He might have those contacts or have that insight to know that something like that's available to a city if they just simply apply for it. And the same type of thing with the grants that are out there for, I don't know, someone mentioned the internet the other day. Well, there's probably grants out there for, you know, cities to invest in their infrastructure and their internet. And likewise with, you know, we had that presentation the other day where, you know, someone needs to go out and talk to these boating companies and get a tech school in here and do this other kind of stuff. Again, we're not going to do that. We don't have the authority to do so, but a development director might. So yeah, exactly. That's exactly why I was like, you know, I don't know how that vote would come about, but we certainly need to explore putting someone in that position and getting someone, you know, knuckle deep into all the different little ideas that not only we're kicking around, but things that pop up on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere else that someone has a good idea. You know, there's a thread out there right now, people asking, what does Camdenton got to do to expand in growth? And there's the 149 comments under that thread. And, you know, a lot of it's, you know, I don't want it to grow at all, but there's some good ideas in there. And it would be good to have someone in that position who's monitoring the various different things that pop up here and there and spark an idea.
You know, you want to get there.
I'm trying.
Sorry about that. I missed you.
If we all recall, we voted on that, and it was a vote of 10 pro, 1 against to send that recommendation to the board. I don't believe there was any mandate that our recommendations had to be complete before they were sent to the board. I agree with everything Corey said. I thought Tim Jacobson's presentation was very good at our last meeting, and he said, if you think all of the little entities and all of the cities around the lake are all going to work together, you're probably dreaming. If we want somebody to spend their time, their money, their effort on Osage Beach, we need an economic developer in Osage Beach. I think we voted on it. It needs to go to the board.
Thank you.
We also need I view the economic developer as being someone who can execute any ideas. I don't know if we come up with additional ideas or questions or things like Corey said, anything that pops up, any interest factor, somebody has to follow up on it and execute it.
Exactly.
And in regards to Chris and I had this discussion, Gilstrap, after the last meeting, but, you know, we kind of talked to, and even the, you know, as a member of Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, you know, we have the 5 different chambers of commerce around here are also fragmented even further. And like you said, and I think some of these ideas, like whether it's, you know, Lake of the Ozarks Regional Economic Development Council, Lake of the Ozarks Council for Local Governments, or even now from the chamber Zoom meeting this morning, Mayor Morawski from Lake Ozark was saying that all the mayors are kind of, trying to get together and work together as a group to kind of work together. And, you know, and I think that's great. And I hope they can pull that off, but, you know, there are a lot of entities out there that the idea is to try to pull these people together and pool our resources. Matter of fact, like the Ozarks Council of Local Governments, which our mayor is on the board of, just recently hired a couple economic development people onto their staff. And you know, as members of that, as the city of Osage, are there maybe some resources even within our own community that we can maybe reach out to, whether it's through those organizations, and really kind of try to pursue that and like put the pressure on from the city's perspective and say, hey, we're a member of this organization as a whole. Let's get that rolling. And then at that point, you know, because you know, if we're afraid of, you know, however much a position, a newly created position may be, or of course, I'm sure all the folks who work at the city have plenty to do. I know, like in the city of Lake Ozark, Harrison Fry, their assistant city administrator, is / economic development guy. You know, so like that's kind of it's kind of part of his overall duties. But you know, I just wonder if there's already resources there that maybe we just put the pressure on from the city side. Maybe ask the mayor, hey, you know, as a board member for the Council of Local Governments, can you ask for help here in these, you know, in these areas? And I just don't know, you know, I don't attend those meetings yet or check it out. You know, it's just kind of stuff that I'm, you know, with the focus that has come from this board, you know, I'm starting to do more research and learn more and more that's out there. And I think there may be some stuff that we can pursue that may be, you know, ultimately, yes, it'd be great if we had one dedicated person for the city of Osage Beach for economic development. But maybe before we get there, there are some other things we can use to get there. And I don't know, you know, and Richard and I were talking.
A motion was made and we voted on
Yeah,
it.
you're right.
I don't think anyone's, maybe, I don't want to speak for the group, but I'll just say my perception is no one's at this point trying to change that decision or anything. It's more around, you know, with Gina coming in from Lordeck, okay, what are they doing? What have they seen? What are their challenges? What do they might recommend from a quote volunteer organization that's been out there for several years, but has been challenged to make what I will call at least some significant impact. So anyway.
I guess my point is I don't see one being mutually exclusive of the other.
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking, you know, is like kind of in the interim, we can all, while we're pursuing that, we can also be pursuing the other that I think there are resources available to us that I think.
Yeah, I think the one piece that I don't think we had very well, I think the one piece that we got a little hung up on after we did the vote is, okay, now we put something out there, we voted on it, we approved it, it's on the table. Now what, right? So I think that, Richard, I think that's kind of the right. Missing key is, although we did vote on this, we're certainly not going to be the ones going out and hiring this person. So exactly. How do we box this up and present it to the board? And do we really want to send one idea at a time, or should we box these things up, you know, at a quarter? Or, you know, how would the board want to see these types of things come to them? You know, because you can see the plus and minuses of both sides. If we send them in one at a time, obviously we're going to get more action going a little bit quicker. But then again, you got all these little tiny ideas hitting one at a time where, you know, if you put them all together, you might find some conflicts or something like that. I don't know. But I think that was the big question, though, is how does the board, how do the aldermen want to see this thing come forward to them when these types of votes are taken?
Personally, I'd like to see one at a time and concentrate on that.
Luke?
Yes.
I'm sorry I was late. I was watching all the things on TV and all of a sudden I went, oh, it's after 6.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the past, wasn't the city administrator and the assistant kind of in the economic things? I remember when Gina, she did the grants, or at least I think she started them anyway, where we got sidewalks. And, you know, she or her assistant was doing something. Could we recommend they look into it while we're going for the economic? Because that's not going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
Well, they've been taking over, like I said, picking up the pieces where Buxton has recommended. And she, as well as Carrie Patterson at Planning and Zoning, along with Angel, the Mike, the assistant, but anyway, they've been trying to correlate things to put it out there. It seems like it's run a little slower because of COVID, obviously, but anyway, just what you're saying, Janice, that is in the making.
Well, that way, if we'd say to Gina, what about going and looking at the airport again? You know, we did it years ago before we have had all this growth, you know, and all that. Yes, we have I don't know, we had a deal, didn't we, with the airport in Columbia? Wasn't there some kind of that we, I don't know, we didn't pay money, but I don't know, kind of said we'd stay back or something, but I don't remember. That's been so long ago. But anyway, I mean, I think all of these great ideas, I mean, I think the airport could actually work now because we've got so many more people that are down here and coming down. And as the airport is doing well, it might be something to look in. It may only be a once a week type thing, or, you know, not a daily, at least to start. But it was Ozark, wasn't it, that was here?
Ozark, yeah.
But anyway, I just wondered if we just recommend to the administrator and the assistant, and then still work on economic development. I don't know, just an idea.
When I was over at the chamber, working at the chamber, there were a lot of families coming in, bringing their families in, and the husbands had to go back to work. If it had been something like that, a convenience for them to fly back and go to work and leave their families here, they really wanted it at that time. That was some years ago.
Of course, then again, you have to be looking at scheduling. Once or twice a week wouldn't cut it.
Yeah.
Probably not, but I'm just saying to see if they.
Yeah.
Well, and again,
When we went out to talk to Ty, when the three of us went out, Phyllis and Luke and I, he mentioned commercial scheduled airlines coming in. And if I recall correctly, his comment was, it just isn't cost effective.
Well, I can imagine.
I could imagine it not being cost effective, and I don't know who would do that analysis in comparison to when it was first analyzed versus today. But you know, I've had a lot of people bring this up to me, and I've even heard it here in this very same meetings where we often compare ourselves in terms of growth to and entertainment type ideas with Branson. Well, what do they have? We don't. But on the flip side, you know, their proximity is really close, you know. So I don't know. There's something to be said. I don't know.
Invite Ty to come and speak to us.
Well,
That'd be good.
yeah, and I think that's when this conversation is. We're going to this list that Luke is talking about of kind of circle back to that is you know, we'll get with Gina because she's planning on being at the next meeting. And not that she's going to get through all of them, but start maybe brainstorming with her. How can we make this process more effective and helpful, not only to the board, but even to staff? Because they do have certain roles. I mean, right now, you know, the city administrator is trying to keep the city together. The assistant city administrator is technically the public works director. So to be quite honest with you all, no one's working on it right now. And as far as grants and so forth, if they're out there, I'm not aware of them. I would have thought Council of Local Governments and some of those people would have been, but maybe there's something out there we're not aware of. So, you know, and you know, I was at one point in time, Mrs. Brown, who I think is here with us, someone thought that she might know about some grants. I'm not trying to get into that subject right now, but I've not know of any.
Paula?
You're muted.
No.
Okay.
Wait, Phyllis?
Oh, there's Dr. Brown.
I've been here the whole time, but I can't, you guys can't see me. I don't know why. And I just unmuted myself, but I've heard the whole thing.
Oh, good.
I've tried to look into grants before. I'm willing to do that. You know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I love the idea of a boardwalk. I love the idea of we've talked about airports. I thought they had really worked on expanding the length of the airport to bring in the bigger planes because they were, but maybe that was, I'm old, that might have been back a ways. So I've heard a lot of these conversations in the past, but I agree with all of you that we don't have the one person that keeps this conversation moving and going and going forward. And maybe the whole thing boils down to is we need that person. It would be a wonderful thing, I think, if the city had lake access to where we could create something. But my question is, that takes money. I know we'd have to have the grants, and I would, I know we have a person in City Hall that I talked to before, and I've forgotten her name, who actually wrote grants. I met with her. And that was probably 2 years ago, but she came into my gallery from City Hall and talked to me, and she had written grants for the city. She was a younger woman. I have to look up her name because I was talking about, how do we write grants for this site, for Osage Beach to, beautify the parkway. That was the conversation at the time, but.
Was that the previous city clerk, Diane Warner?
I think it was, yes.
I wondered about that.
She was younger gal, but had written some grants before. I've written lots of grants. I've never written a city grant, but I'm not afraid to do that. But I'm definitely a nobody and a peon in this situation. But I would do anything to help. But I really think we need a person who takes the ideas that we have, and if we can narrow it down to exactly what we want to do and go for it, and maybe it's to elect that person.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth mentioning, and I might have mentioned it before, but in terms of the airport, if I recall, they needed 600 more feet of runway at the end. Yes. They could get a grant for it, a federal grant, but they had to finish the taxiway, which I believe the taxiway was just finished not too long ago.
That's correct.
Yeah, so that was the discussion around that in terms of airport runway length.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. I had heard all that conversation in the past, and I thought they were working on that expansion because that was the first step in bringing in bigger airlines, was my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to work with the University of Missouri or some of the other colleges around for an intern that might be wanting to learn how to do grants and how to do, you have to pay them a small amount, but it's not huge.
I got a better idea. Why don't we ask Diane if she'd like to volunteer to write some grant or find some grants for us? I'm sure.
I'm sure that she would be willing to cooperate with Paula and work together. And
there you go.
I'm speaking for her, but that's just Diane. I've known her for a long time.
Exactly. She'd be happy to do it.
Well, I've met with her before, and I know she's a very intelligent young lady. If that's the lady I'm talking about, I'm almost sure it is. But she's written grants before for cities. She understood the process and what it took. And at the time we were looking into, is there anything out there? That was kind of what we were talking about at the time.
But, and it's such an and Dr. Brown, I know from your time in education how that's kind of a moving target sometimes. What is available, what isn't, and if you're not kind of up to speed with what's out there in the current moment, like I said, I don't think any of us are knowledgeable about what's necessarily out there. But yeah, with the right amount of, with somebody who has some expertise and maybe a starting point to kind of point us in the right direction on that, might be a good connection that comes out of this meeting. If we make that connection between you and her, and we kind of pursue it that way.
Yeah, just if we had someone who's just keeping track of what's happening in the, in government, that puts these out there, they have a finger on it. because other cities are getting those grants, you know, and starting these, you know, the sidewalk grants. Of course, you've heard about that, and I know probably used those, but just all kinds of grants are out there that come up, but you got to get in, and you got to write them, and you got to get them in on time, and you got to spend the money correctly and document every cent. And so there's got to be someone who watches them, willing to do all that.
Just because I had this in my notes and just because it's a totally smaller scale, but I was just, when I was doing some research, you know, in between the last two meetings, just about economic development in general around the lake, and I'm just a lot more in tune to it because of this committee. The community foundation of the lake has their grants open for the next until January 31st. And those are $3,000 grants. And I'd always kind of looked at those as more as educational, cultural, and health ones. These are the different categories, but there's another category there for economic development in the lake area. And again, those grants are only $3,000. I'm not necessarily saying that any action from this committee would be needed there, but I wanted to bring it to everybody else's attention, because if there's other outside projects or anything like that, there is that money, and they're still accepting those applications to the end of this month. And I just want to, like I said, I just had that in my notes and wanted to get that out there for everybody. So like I said, I don't know that it's necessarily actionable in this committee, but I just, for everyone's knowledge, while I was looking through all this, I found that. And like I said, I'd never really kind of looked at the community foundation as an economic development
resource,
you know, but they listed it in there. And like I said, it came to my attention basically because of the committee. Not there. It was in my notes, so I wanted to get it out there.
What we need to do is we need to zero in on a particular, like the airport, one thing, and let's get it taken care of. Find out everything we can.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what I said, one thing at a time to present to the board, and we can go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we're on agreement that.
So we have to be in agreement of what we want to zero in on. What is it?
You have a list, Luke.
Yeah, well, like I said, I did, like I said, I've kind of, and I went earlier, go through it again real quick, just some themes of the things that have brought up. Like I said, economic development position, which we've already voted on. So that one's kind of done. The event topic, the big event topic, whether it's the veterans or the art walk, the airport topic, all under one thing. The idea of entertainment district or special taxing districts is another, I think,
category.
The promotion of the city and city events, and including the Parks and Rec and things like that. And then the final one that I have on my list was the short-term rentals, either licensing or somehow,
one thing I would like to add, I mean, someone mentioned zeroing in on something. I don't know, because again, we're just an advisory, right? We don't know the ins and outs, whether or not that's not even worth the time. I mean, it sounds great to us. We're going to pitch it, and then it's going to go forward, and someone's going to say, you can't even, that's a non-starter. You can't even do that. And we might have lost traction on some other ideas that it might have been more feasible. So I don't know if we want to zero in or maybe just prioritize, but certainly send all the ideas forward. But I don't know if one single idea would be a good approach if in fact it winds up being something that, we can't even for whatever reason, can't even think about it, like the boardwalk as an example. It's a great idea, but you got to buy the property, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. And then someone gets in there and you find out there's easements and all this other kind of stuff. And, I don't know.
I can already tell you that at the city park, that one area on the lake, why can't we use that for a entertainment? It's our property, right? A boardwalk you're talking about.
Down there where they run those little boats or.
Yeah, right on that point there.
Well,
it's a nice area.
Well, in my personal opinion, one of the key benefits of a boardwalk is that it encourages a little bit of commercial growth. You have a little bit of, some small shops that shut up along it. I don't know if the city's easements and all that would allow that. And also, hopefully, it would provide an ability for access for people who decide to walk there or pull up there by boat, say, for example, they have the ability to access other aspects of the city. And I think that the park's a great idea. We already own it. Let's do it. I just don't know if it's close enough to some of the other city amenities, not to mention it's on the wrong side, what we're trying to concentrate on.
Wait a minute. It's on the wrong side? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
I don't think that we're talking about focusing on one idea only. It just seemed to me like we were coming up with an idea to present and we'd go on to the second idea and then the third idea.
Yeah.
But right now we've met 5 or 6 times and it seems to me we've accomplished very little.
I appreciate that feedback. I think and I think I want to say this. It's been in the back of my mind. If you guys don't mind, apologize, Luke. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We're not good at this. This isn't something Citizens Advisory Committee. We haven't done anything like this for what, 45 years. Okay. We don't do it often. And I appreciate everyone's patience because it's not something honestly that I've ever tried to accomplish. And for some of you that had some experience, please be patient. But I think that's what this discussion is about. How do we become more effective and efficient in the process of providing feedback and recommendations to the board? And I think he hit the nail on the head now. And so I think and I'm not going to speak for Luke, but I think he was talking about zeroing in on particular topics on each meeting so that we could delve into those and ask the questions and get the backgrounds, whether it's through city staff or some other subject matter expert like Tim, so that we could progress in some, how would I say, chronological or productive way in the future was what I thought. And I think your comments were around that too, so.
I agree.
If plan A doesn't work, then we go to plan B.
Yeah.
And
So,
keep going.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what I do.
okay.
So the mention was, I don't know what topic we necessarily want to tackle next in our next meeting, but the idea of maybe bringing Ty in at some point, and he can kind of give us the full rundown and give the whole board, this whole committee, kind of the same kind of education that Phyllis and Janelle and I got. It'd be kind of redundant for the 3 of us, but we've been through it. But then maybe some of those questions can come to light, and you can kind of give us an idea of the feasibility of it, and all those things. So maybe I can reach out, or Phyllis can help me reach out to Ty and maybe bring him into one of the future meetings. I think if we're gonna have a guest next week already, or next month already, and I hate, that's the problem with this meeting, this committee meeting once a month. There's 30 days in between each meeting, and it's like what happens in between then and there. And I think kind of the idea was the economic development position would do that, kind of thing, do the day-to-day part of it. But I think, but at the same time, I think what good has come out of this committee is just kind of, brought some stuff to light, made some connections through a few people. And I think we all kind of knew coming into it, since this is just, we have the power of recommendation, and what necessarily is that worth? But I think we're starting to put together some ideas, and having the 2 members of the board here at most of these meetings, for them to kind of get, the voice of 8 to 10 citizens who obviously, all of us here who come to these meetings care. We're taking the time out of our day to be here and to make the effort to think about this and to put, I know I am outside of these meetings, pursuing things. I know several other people within the group have as well. But I think, just constantly giving that feedback to the city and to the aldermen to let them know what's going on. I think at some point it would be good to have the mayor come to one of these meetings and maybe kind of give his vision about what's going on and give us an opportunity, maybe, ask a few questions there and maybe address a few things as well. So, I think this can be a forum. It can be valuable. And like I said, we just kind of, between switching to Zoom and doing it once a month, it's kind of start and stop. But I think, for me, what was comforting when I went back and looked through all the meeting minutes and the agendas and kind of went over everything, after feeling a little frustrated with feeling like, well, we're not getting anything done. I was like, well, we brought some things to light. We've talked about some things. We've got them at least on the table. And I guess that's the first step. Now it's a matter of just making that next step.
Yeah. And, actually, you guys brought it a good point with the zeroing in on things and bringing in the experts. That might be one of our sub functions as well, is to really carefully document the discussions that go around some of these ideas and put them put them on the shelf, because it seems like some of these ideas have been brought up numerous times in the past. And each time, you're trying to reach out. Okay, what happened with that? So that way, when people say, hey, Osage Beach isn't trying to do anything, they're not trying to develop nothing, they're real, we can reach back to our folders here and go, hey, we tried to do this and this is what happened. These were the obstacles. Or at the very least, 5 years from now, we can go back and review some of these and go, hey, that's no longer an obstacle. Maybe that's something we can explore now. But yeah, that would certainly be something great that we could, as representatives, as people, because I meet people all the time who talk about, what are we doing to bring in growth? And, it'd be nice to have something in the background to be able to point to and say, hey, look what we're doing here. And these are the reasons why, for example, we can't build a boardwalk or we can't expand the airport. These are the exact reasons why. And that's that.
Well, I think if Gina would be available, that she thinks she will be, as long as we let her know the date of the next meeting, that she, we could give her some outline, which I think she already has from Richard. And then when I talked with her, but as far as the process of being an economic developer and what is all involved, would be a very good start to have her be here. And if she can't come, then we could find out soon enough. I'll get in touch with Ty and have him come and give us a presentation.
Cool. I think that would be good. And then while we're on that topic, do we want to look, it would be, if sticking with the first Wednesday of the month, it would be February 3rd. Is that kind of
Do we
February
think
3rd?
Yeah.
Do we think that meeting once a month is enough? That's only 4 or 5 meetings before summer. And I thought Richard said they wanted recommendations prior to the meeting that the board had for strategic planning.
If I could clarify that, it would be nice, okay? But the best thing, I think that, how would I say this? You all have to decide, because it's your committee, how deep you want to go. For example, Economic Development Coordinator. Do you want to try to, Luke and I were talking about this. So do you want to recommend it knowing how much it costs? And then do you want to take the step to delve into it far enough to try to decide what we're going to live without? Because the revenue, there's just not going to be a couple $100,000 a pier overnight. And you don't need to do that necessarily, but again, we're not good at this. We're trying to learn it, okay, and try to figure out how to be effective. But the point is that any information that you all do decide, such as you've decided the Economic Development Coordinator position, and anything else on top of that that could be accomplished to your all satisfaction, would be nice to have by July or August. I don't think you have to be done by any means. Depends on how deep you want to go. So I'll step back and let you all talk about that.
In answer to your question, Janelle, I know initially we wanted to do it twice a month. And the situation came up where there's an ordinance where there's our committees, committee volunteers are paid $25 per meeting. And all of a sudden we're looking at the number of members we have on this committee and then say, well, gee, that's $50 a month times X amount of members. And there seemed to be some, well, is that really necessary to be pushing out that kind of money for all that many in a committee? Richard, isn't that correct? That's the way I understood it.
Well,
So
I think
we
there were
cut
some
back to the
questions, but I'll be quite honest. If you all feel like you need to, if this entire committee compared to a subcommittee or something, if this entire committee needed to meet twice a month or once a week to accomplish their stuff, let us figure that out. But I don't think that you should, for lack of a better term, I'm just going to say, you guys have an open desk. And I know sometimes that's the hardest problem. You've got a wide open deal. You can, bob and weave any way you want. But I don't know. I'm not going to, how would I say, recommend that you guys meet once a week, but do what you need to do. Okay. And if you all feel like you need to meet twice a month because we did it for a couple months once, that's okay too. That's your all's decision.
Didn't we vote to remove the? Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what the vote was at that time.
Yeah. We don't get paid.
So, yeah.
But I think
I'm
the
losing
problem,
it.
yeah, but I think the problem is there's an ordinance that
Right.
defines
Right,
that. And I
again.
need to-
Oh,
Just like
Okay.
it was, that was our recommendation.
right.
Again, we made that recommendation, but again, until that passes, the code is what the code is and it says what
Oh.
it says.
okay.
Right.
Until it, and like I said, that was kind of just, for us at the beginning, that was one of our, initial recommendations was that we wanted to forego the pay, but again, that's still the way the code reads. And until that changes, it is what it is, because like I said, again, this committee only has the power of recommendation and that's all we've done.
Okay. So what if we have to get it, why don't we pool that money and start? No, we can't do that. As I say, we can afford something if you want to use that money. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's not gonna work.
I know. It just
Good
drives
try.
me nuts.
Good try.
Two pieces of good news that have happened since the last meeting is the fact that Hobby Lobby and then another
Oh, yeah.
company that I'm looking at is the Guess and Company that just moved to Osage Beach. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
this release on that. Two good examples of things happening here at the lake, and my immediate thought was, what did the city do right there?
Ah,
How did, I'd like to learn more about that. How did we make that? How did that happen? What are the ins or outs? Maybe, that could be a question for the mayor when we get him in here or somebody else, and kind of find out and learn the good lessons from it. And maybe even, like I said, the Guess and Company is interesting. I'm learning from them. They're moving here from Miami, and they have a lot of different focuses and things like that. It's kind of a neat looking company coming here to like, and I just wonder if somebody might want to either reach out to them and say, hey, what attracted you to Osage Beach in particular? Why did you come here and things like that? And to learn those lessons from those two pretty big acquisitions, I think, for the city. So that way we can do that more in the future. Does that make sense? Like, what can we learn from that?
I wonder what our economic developer would say.
And the Hobby Lobby was part of, that was when they did our TIF on the Golden Door property. That was one of his anchors. It was more the developer that brought him in and has been working on him, I think.
Yeah, and I knew it was one of those things you hear about for years and years and years, and then it finally actually happened. I've been, but I think we're all used to hearing those rumors, and you think, oh yeah, so and so is going to be coming here, but then what ultimately happens so oftentimes is, finally it happens. It does happen. So
Bass Pro.
right.
Yeah.
How many years?
So are we scheduling?
I think we at least want to schedule for the second. Do we want?
For the first Wednesday in February, is that what you're saying, Luke?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that one's for sure. And then Janelle has brought up the idea that do we need to meet more, or maybe we do break down into those smaller committees, keep it a group of under 8, and do that between now and then, and maybe kind of get really, focus on that, Like,
and then we can bring it back to the committee. What you learned, you and Janelle, you guys have brought back more information, and it really did help.
Good.
Oh, and then
It
that's
sure helped us.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I think we learned a lot from the city, but I think getting Ty in here, I think getting the mayor in here, I think would educate us. So I think we're going to pursue that at least for the next meeting. So okay, I guess we need to take a vote to schedule that next meeting, or are we just already on the once a month schedule as?
We're going to stay with the once a month.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that something we have to vote on, or we just, because like I said, at one point we voted to go to once a month, so are we still kind of under that, or?
Until you change it, I think you are.
I
That's probably the
think
best approach.
You can just change it at the next meeting. You can decide you're going to meet again.
Okay.
Can I make a
February?
motion?
Sure.
Do I make a motion to adjourn?
Not-
Second.
Okay, that's the only last bit of topic that I wanted to cover before we got out of here that we discussed last week was meeting with Chief Davis.
Oh.
With the police department, with the holidays and everything like that, I didn't get anything scheduled there, but if there's still interest in that, I talked to Todd Davis. He's totally willing to host us and bring us around, show us around the police department, answer questions and concerns, and give us the information we want to do there. So is that something that you want me to just pick a date and send out an email to everybody and see if you can come, or is there a better day? What is the best option there for those who might? I know Chris was, because we talked about that, but anybody else particularly interested in that, or days that do or don't work there?
Always nice.
What's that?
It's always nice to know more about how that all works, especially right now.
Well, I think that probably the easiest way for that, then I'll get back in touch with Todd. I'll put together like 2 or 3 dates, send them out, and see what everybody's best option is there, and we can do that
Right.
between now and next month. So before we adjourn, I did want to get that out there because it was something we discussed, and like I said, Chief Davis is totally open to that, and is willing, and I think that's good for us. So that'll be our next little field trip there. We have the idea of a couple guests kind of lined up for the next couple meetings, and I heard a motion and a second to adjourn. So
Who seconded it? Who seconded the adjournment?
I believe it was Chris.
I didn't, but I will.
Okay.
Thanks, Janelle.
Yeah, Chris seconded.
Okay.
Chris
that's right.
Gilstrap, yeah.
So all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. We will see you on the 2nd.
Everyone have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Is this a Zoom
Thank
meeting
you.
or are we meeting in person?
Good point. I mean, we have been doing Zoom. We tend to get better attendance at the Zoom meetings,
Yeah.
but I think our interaction is better in person, so
I do too.
Did you say February 2nd or 3rd?
third. I think I said second, but I meant third.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It is
I
the
was
third.
like,
That's Wednesday.
wait a minute.
Wednesday, February 3rd. Yep.
Got it.
Okay.
I vote for Zoom.
I
I-
do too, for at least another time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Just until this virus gets, no, it's not going to get over anyway. So
Right.
But
But if
until the numbers start coming down a little bit, it seems prudent.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate this.
Have
Thank
a great
you.
evening, everyone.
And,
Thanks for all your time.
Wish Richard bon voyage.
Okay, I'm gonna do leave.
Where
I
you
missed
going?
that, Phyllis. Where's Richard going?
Did you hear me?
No.
Oh, I'm going to, well, we pushed it back a week, but we're going to Jamaica and the grill for 3 weeks.
Oh.
Oh, wonderful. Have a
Good
great.
luck.
Be
Have-
Try to go
careful.
somewhere warmer and funner.
Well, I hope it's
I
fun.
think that's smart.
Y'all have a great one. I can still zoom in though, so I may see you even though I'm from
Awesome.
the
Oh,
beach.
there you
No.
go.